This is outrageous. It's unfair.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Now, this video might just add some history to, our prequel memes. The high ground, of course, was a huge scene, both in episode 3 and, for memes all over the world. But what if I told you guys that in the making of Revenge of the Sith book, there was supposed to be a quip or line that Anakin says right before Obi-Wan warns him of the high ground? It's literally the biggest diss that Anakin could have dished out to Obi-Wan, and I'm actually kind of glad that they took it out because it would have ruined the flow of the whole scene. But the fact that it was written into the script and then taken out at the last minute is something that we should talk about for sure. So during production, George writes up the dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan during the duel just before his demise. Anakin was supposed to say, "Your combat skills have always been poor. You're called the negotiator because you can't fight." Now, while obviously this is a good zinger to Obi-Wan, it would have totally taken the person out of the movie, I think. Since it's kind of like a high school comeback type of thing, and the dialogue just doesn't really fit. I feel like there was too much raw emotion and anger and rage in that scene that speaking about things, or maybe making, a quip or a line, kind of just reminds me of lines from The Last Jedi where Poe and Hux were making mama jokes and stuff like that. It just doesn't really fit. Now, while it's not as bad as that line, I still think they took it out for the right reasons. Now, the second part to the diss, let's try to break that down. Why did Anakin say this? Surely the Jedi knew Obi-Wan was a good fighter. I mean, they sent him to fight General Grievous, with even Mace Windu telling him that he was the master of Sorsu, which was the defense favorite fighting style. Well, and I've mentioned this before, but Obi-Wan was actually the weakest student when he started out. He lacked the most raw power and talent in the whole academy. Everyone knew it, but it was his discipline to make himself as good, if not better, than most other masters. If it took Anakin, let's say, 10 years to learn all that he's learned from Obi-Wan, then it would have taken Obi-Wan 30 years to learn all of that. Of course, don't quote those numbers or ratio, that's just an example. He was unskilled in the same sense that one might say an athlete of a sport has poor genetics or reflexes or motor controls. However, with practice and patience, Obi-Wan became a great duelist. And that is possibly why he was the master of defense, because just like in his life, being so patient, so was his fighting style, blocking until the opponent faltered out of arrogance or chance, which is when Kenobi would make his final strike. In addition to this, he also adds on another page, walking up to Hayden Christensen, he tells him, basically, you're arrogant. At one point, I had you say to Obi-Wan, I could have beaten you when I was a 10-year-old. Now, that's an extremely arrogant thing to say, and I'm fully in agreement with taking that out because I'm sure little Annie from Tatooine couldn't have destroyed Obi-Wan at that age. That line, of course, as George says, was really just to pound it in how arrogant and foolhardy Anakin had become, now with his dark side powers. In a sense, he was always arrogant, it was just seen in little drops here or there. I also want to add, in a Legends book, Anakin did set an enemy on fire when he was just a little boy, and that was one of the first times that Obi-Wan was like, whoa, this kid is kind of crazy. So, while you guys are now aware of the line we were supposed to get, I'm glad it was taken out to preserve the raw emotion of the scene and to highlight the high ground for all of eternity. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have an awesome day, and I will see you all in the next episode of Star Wars Theory. Until then, my fellow Jedi and Sith friends, remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
Now, fulfill